Did you know that the average American household is carrying about $92,000 in debt? That's right, $92,000, yikes! Now I don't know about you, but I didn't even realize I'd spent that much at Starbucks. But seriously, that's a massive number. And if you're feeling overwhelmed by debt, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're going to talk about debt management strategies that actually work, so you can take control and start paying it down like a pro. Hey there, I'm your name, and in today's video we're tackling a topic that affects millions of people: debt. Whether it's student loans, credit cards, or mortgages, debt can be a huge burden that drags us down. But the good news, there are strategies, real strategies, that you can use to get yourself out of debt and start building financial freedom. We're going to look at proven methods that work, so by the end of this video, you'll have a clear path to follow. Okay, let's be real for a second. Debt is tough. It feels like you're stuck in a never-ending loop of bills, interest rates, and minimum payments. And the worst part? The interest. Credit card interest rates can be as high as 25%. It's like paying for a coffee that costs $5, but you're charged $25 every time you take a sip. Not to mention that minimum payment each month barely covers the interest, leaving you feeling like you're not even making a dent in the balance. But the struggles don't stop there. Many people also lack financial literacy. They don't know how to make the right choices to reduce their debt. And it's not your fault. No one really teaches you how to manage debt in school. But guess what? You can take control. We're gonna break this down, step by step. So, let's talk about what we're up against: interest, late fees, and sometimes just feeling overwhelmed by the sheer amount of debt you have. But don't worry, there are ways out. So, buckle up, because we're going to dive into some solid strategies that will help you manage and eventually eliminate that debt. Alright, now that we've laid out the problem, let's talk about solutions. Here are 3 proven strategies to help you take control of your debt and start paying it off for good. First up, the debt snowball method. This method is super popular for a reason. It works. Here's how it goes. Instead of tackling your highest interest debt first, which is what most people recommend, you start with the smallest balance. Why? Because when you knock out that small balance, you get a quick win, and that gives you the motivation to tackle the bigger debts. For example, let's say you have 3 credit cards. One has a balance of $200, another $500, and the third has $1,000. With the snowball method, you pay off the $200 debt first, no matter what the interest rates are. Once that's gone, you take the money you were using to pay that off and apply it to the $500 debt. The snowball effect makes it feel like you're making progress faster. And trust me, that motivation can be a game changer. Now I know some people think this is counterintuitive. Shouldn't I be paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first? And yeah, mathematically, that might be the best option. But if you're feeling overwhelmed and like you're not getting anywhere, this method helps you build momentum and feel like you're winning. And when it comes to debt, that psychological victory is just as important as the financial one. Next up is debt consolidation. This strategy involves combining all your debts into one single loan, often with a lower interest rate. For example, if you have multiple credit card balances with 20% interest, you could take out a consolidation loan at a much lower rate, say 8% or even 5%, and pay off everything at once. This will lower your monthly payments and potentially save you money on interest over time. Debt consolidation also makes it easier to manage because you only have one payment to track instead of juggling multiple accounts. You can also use balance transfer credit cards that offer 0% interest for a certain period, which is like hitting the pause button on your interest for a while. But be careful, because those cards can have high fees if you miss a payment. Debt consolidation is great if you have multiple high-interest debts, but you need to make sure that you don't rack up new debt after consolidating. It's about changing the behavior, not just the numbers. And of course, budgeting. If you're serious about getting out of debt, budgeting is key. You need to know where your money is going every month and make sure that you're directing as much of it as possible toward paying off your debt. Cutting unnecessary expenses is a big part of this. You might be surprised at how many little expenses add up over time, things like those daily coffee runs or that subscription to that random streaming service you forgot about. Start by reviewing your spending habits. Can you eat out less? Can you switch to a cheaper phone plan? Every dollar saved is another dollar that can go toward your debt. You don't have to be perfect, but making small changes can really help you put more money toward eliminating debt. Remember, if you're in debt, this is a sprint, but it's also a marathon. You've got to be disciplined with your budget if you want to get out of debt fast. So track your spending, cut back where you can, and allocate that money toward debt repayment. Let me tell you a success story. This is the story of Samantha, a viewer who reached out to me after watching my previous debt management video. Samantha was carrying around $15,000 in credit card debt, and she felt hopeless. But after implementing the debt snowball method, cutting back on some expenses, and consolidating her debt into a personal loan with a lower interest rate, she was able to pay off her debt in just 2 years. Samantha didn't get discouraged by the size of the debt. She focused on small wins, sticking to her plan, and now she's debt-free and building her savings. This could be you. It's all about being consistent and following a method that works for your situation. So to wrap it up, here are the key strategies for managing your debt. The debt snowball method. Start with the smallest debt to build momentum. Debt consolidation. Combine your debts into one lower interest loan. Budgeting and cutting expenses. Make sure you're directing as much money as possible to your debt. Managing debt is absolutely possible, and you don't have to do it alone. With the right approach, you can get out of debt and start building a brighter financial future. Now I want to hear from you. What's the biggest challenge you face with debt, and which strategy are you going to try first? Drop a comment below, and I'd love to help you out. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone else who could use a little debt relief. Don't miss my next video on budgeting tips to help you stay on track. Until next time, keep crushing those financial goals.